Welcome to the Tyler Werner Show, discussing all the latest in Philadelphia sports.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Tyler Werner Show here. Another Super Bowl championship edition here, post-Super Bowl championship edition of the Tyler Werner Show. I mean, this past week and change, it's just been a whirlwind week. I mean, what more can you say? As we're still relishing here in the Philadelphia region, in the Delaware Valley, in the first Super Bowl championship in team history, in Philadelphia Eagles history. And for those who were down at the parade, I mean, tell me your experience.
Oh, man.
I mean, that 750,000 person estimate, that's an absolute joke. All right. I don't think that accounted for the 6-mile length or so of the parade where people were lined up how many rows deep as possible, all the way up to the art museum steps where, yeah, maybe in that region, in that open area where the ceremony took place, maybe there alone there was 750,000 people, but whatever estimate that, I don't buy that that's all that was there for that parade. I don't think, for one thing, I don't think there's really any easy way you can calculate how many people were at that parade.
I agree.
I don't know how you can. That's just tough to me. But overall, no major incidents. Nobody burning any buildings down or anything. Like, a lot of people wanted to overblow after the Eagles won the Super Bowl. There's a lot of trash left out, which I didn't. I don't like that. I know there were a lot of people there, and maybe too few trash cans or whatever. But take your trash with you until I don't know. That's just me. Don't just throw it on the ground. But other than that, and other than some profanity-laden Jason Kelce speech, I thought the ceremony, the parade, I wasn't there myself, but having watched it, I thought overall it had to have been a spectacle. It had to have been a special day for those that were down there. And really, I mean, just listening to faces of the Philadelphia Eagles speak, albeit many of them very briefly, I thought it was a special day. It was, tuning in live to this parade as the Jeffrey Lurie up there speaking, Doug Peterson, Nick Foles, Jason Kelce, those faces of the league. I thought it was those faces of the team, maybe not necessarily the league, but the team was very special. And of course that Jason Kelce speech kind of highlighting the whole thing. Maybe got to keep the F-bombs out of it. I mean, I work for a radio station that was broadcasting the ceremony, and it's not fun when you have to keep it FCC regulated. You have to keep programming FCC regulated, and it's a little difficult when you got Jason Kelce doing F-bombs in the ceremony. His delivery was great. Many people joking he could be a face of the XFL that Vince McMahon's bringing back, or a future WWE star or whatever. His delivery was great. His intentions were great. I loved the segment where, he brought up so and so can't play, so and so can't stay healthy. Nick Foles ain't got it. Lane Johnson can't stay off the juice, and all that. That was great. That was all great. Well delivered. And Kelsey especially, he took a lot of the thoughts that were running through our heads here in the Philadelphia Eagles fan region, whatever you want to call it, in Eagles Nation. He took a lot of our thoughts and he expressed them. He expressed that. Like, again, this is a team that gets it. Like I was saying last week and in recent weeks, this Eagles team is special. They get it. They get this Philadelphia Eagles fan base. They understand that this town has been starving for a Super Bowl title for how many years? We've stayed loyal to the Midnight Green. We were let down many times. Many of times where the Eagles team was maybe a favorite to go on to the Super Bowl and didn't. Favorite to win in big games and came up short.
Time's yours.
This Eagles team, we weren't expecting this kind of season. We weren't expecting this kind of playoff performance over the previous 3 games where, seemingly shorthanded and without Carson Wentz, this team delivered week in, week out and delivered Philadelphia its first Super Bowl championship. This team, this coach gets it. This team gets it. And we're still relishing in this Super Bowl title without a doubt. But I know there's been some topics that have come up in the last few days. Obviously the parade, if you were down there, let me know your thoughts, how it went. It was a bit of a chilly afternoon down there. Chilly morning, chilly afternoon for those who were there, but it sounded like it was a spectacle. A few people that I work with were down at the parade and seemed to have had a blast. Whether or not they could get up close to where the ceremony was so that they could hear it or not. But, man, first parade, and like Doug Peterson says, we're just getting started. This is just the beginning.
Gosh, it went great.
And that's exactly what you want to hear. That we're just getting started. And speaking of that, one of the main topics, Nick Foles.
How's everyone doing?
Nick Foles checking into the Tyler Werner Show again today. Nick Foles, and whether or not he will be on this Eagles team next year. Whether or not the Eagles fan base wants him here, or is in favor of the Eagles trading him to a team that might want an upgraded quarterback, in dire need for a quarterback, may not be in position to draft a quarterback they can build with. That's on the topic table today. Not to take anything away from because we're still relishing in this championship, but the Flyers, the Sixers, for the most part, they've turned it on since the Eagles championship. Flyers winning 4 of their last 5. They did lose a shootout loss last night to the Devils. But how about that win at Las Vegas, where seemingly nobody wins? Nobody beats Las Vegas in their home arena, whatever. But Flyers go down there. They get it done 4-1 the other night. They had won 4 straight. 3rd in the Metropolitan Division right now. And again, we've just got about a month and a half, I believe, until the regular season wraps up in the NHL. So we're coming down the stretch here. 25 games left for the Flyers. And they're right there. They're right there in the mix with the Penguins, the Capitals, not too far above them. Devils not far behind. Hurricanes only a couple points behind. The Blue Jackets not far behind either. Like, the whole division really is in the race. They're all over 500 when it comes to wins over regulation losses. Whereas the Atlantic Division, you got 3 strong teams in the Lightning, the Bruins, and the Maple Leafs, and then a lot of separation. You know, you got almost a 20-point separation between the Maple Leafs in third and the Red Wings in fourth. So it's looking like 5 teams are going to come out of this Metropolitan Division, unless one of those lower 5 Atlantic Division teams turns it on down the stretch and sneaks in. Things can change. But the Flyers, they're kind of looking like they might jump back into the playoffs this year. Again, stepping in the right direction, but how far they can go, remains questionable for now. The Sixers, again, winners of 4 straight, took down the Knicks Monday. They got a game tonight, of course, against the Heat. Later on in the Tyler Werner show, we'll know the score of that. Coming off of a win against the Knicks, the Clippers, the Pelicans, the Wizards, since the Eagles won the Super Bowl. And I just want to say for the record, the Sixers organization basically announced this week that Markelle Fultz is not expected to play at all this season. Like, is that some kind of... I said... did anybody think... Not just me saying it, but when they were laying out his whole recovery thing and they were unsure whether he was going to play this season or whatever, come on. Weren't we all saying... They're not going to play. They're not going to play him at all this year. Way back in the fall. Come on. You don't have to try. We're not fooled. Just go ahead and say he's not going to play this year. He's probably not going to play. We don't know if he's going to play the rest of the season. Come on. We all know the answer. We all know how this organization is with shutting down guys and whatever. But I get it. With that shoulder injury and his recovery from it, that's his brain has got to be telling when he's shooting the ball or trying to shoot the ball with that shoulder, or has been trying to shoot that ball, and his brain's telling him, you can't raise the shoulder, and it's like telling him you can't shoot the ball there or whatever. It's got to be affecting, unfortunately. Mentally affecting. It's a brain thing. Adaptation. Telling him, he can't shoot the ball the same way. This whole anxiety issue that was brought up too back in the fall. I don't know. I gotta hope. We gotta hope. Sixers fan base, they gotta hope he can regain his shot, his shooting ability. And this, I guess, kink you could call it in his brain, just kind of vanishes. Evaporates, because it'd be a shame. This is a guy that they targeted last year in the draft. Another high pick. They moved up to get him. This is the guy they wanted. One of these big 3 guys. You got Joel Embiid, you got Ben Simmons. Markelle Fultz. Supposed to be like that third building star that this team rises with. might be tough now. The going might be tough with Markelle Fultz. Not entirely sure where things are going to stand with him as he, I guess, recovers from this, continues his rehab with his injury, and doesn't play until next year. Really, I don't think anybody is really expecting him to play. So those are some of the topics on the table right now in the Philadelphia sports world. But again, this Eagles team, the parade, were you down there? And of course, also on the table when it comes to the Eagles, quarterback coach John DeFilippo, has found another job. And of course, offensive coordinator Frank Reich has found himself another job. And I'm not too concerned about that. Is anybody really too concerned about that? Like, I know DeFilippo, we were saying previously, like, oh, you know what? This guy's a great quarterbacks coach. And if Doug Peterson doesn't cut it this year, could DeFilippo be considered a future head coach here for the Eagles? I know that was kicked around a little bit way back. But Doug Peterson cut it this year. He cut it with flying colors. What more can you say?
I just felt comfortable, confident and comfortable.
He exceeded our expectations with flying colors. So the real... look, I think Doug Peterson really is kind of Howie Roseman, the main faces here. And, of course, Jim Schwartz, who, I don't want to... See, I'd be a little more concerned about him going than these two guys, DeFilippo and Frank Reich. But as long as you got Doug Peterson, the emotional intelligence is at an all-time high with Doug Peterson as the head coach, as Jeffrey Lurie,
you got to open your heart,
kind of coined a couple years ago during the hiring of Doug Peterson. So I'm not too concerned about it. I think whoever they get as replacements, I think one way or the other isn't going to make too huge of a difference when you got Carson Wentz with his ability. Whether or not Nick Foles is here to back him up, I'm not overly concerned about this whole ACL thing that Carson Wentz is suddenly going to have an injury bug. You can't think that way. You really can't. To me, it's more of a freak injury, and to me, it doesn't mean there's an injury bug in the works here for Carson Wentz, when otherwise he stayed reasonably healthy throughout his NFL career thus far. So, those are all on the tables. We're going to take first break here and get back with more on the Tyler Werner Show. Stay tuned after this.
Investigators are calling it the heist of the century. The grand robbery of Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs, committed by some apparently hungry NFL officials who love their balls.
When I came in Monday morning, I was shocked to learn of the news reports about the balls and the process that happened between when they were prepared and went to the officials and went to the game.
As shocked as Belichick was of the news, perhaps Brady, the last man out of the kitchen on that Sunday night, was even more shocked to hear of the news of the theft.
I have a process that I go through. It's the same process that I always go through. When I felt them, they were perfect. I wouldn't want anyone touching those. I would zip those things up and lock them away, and that's what I thought I was doing.
As Brady and Belichick up the ante on their ball security, you'll just have to pick up a pack of their meatballs the next time you hit the grocery store and enjoy just how perfect these balls really are.
Tom's personal preferences on his ball security are something that he can talk about in much better detail than I could possibly provide.
Attention parents. Is your under 18-year-old daughter being cyber-stalked by a man who identifies themselves as a grown adult male?
I want to meet you and fool around. Are you up to meeting tonight, hon? I think I would like to shower with you. We can do it in the shower, too.
If so, you need to contact Chris Hansen and Company to bust these online cyber-stalkers.
How are you tonight? Why don't you have a seat there and get comfortable for that? I guess you're going to tell me next that this is the very first time you've done something like this.
Chris Hansen and the Dateline crew will take care of it. Contact us, and we will put an end to the cyber stalking that your daughter is experiencing.
Well, there's something you got to know. I am Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC, and we're doing a story on computer predators.
Busted!
I've handled dozens of balls over the past week. The texture of the balls is very easy to identify. The pressure of the balls is a whole different story.
Well, I'm upper class.
Yes, we are back on the Tyler Werner show. Took that a little bit out of the vault there from a few years ago. In the midst of Deflategate and everything, and I forgot to I didn't even think of it. I forgot to mention that it is Valentine's Day for those who do or do not care. And last year, I remember doing this, and we have the NFL memes Valentine cards to go through. That's right. On the NFL memes Facebook page, I will go through those a little later in the show. I didn't even think of that until, earlier I'm on Facebook, and I see NFL memes posted, and I'm like, oh, that's right. So we'll go through some of those, and of course, a couple that still allude to Deflategate and, the pressure of Tom Brady's balls.
To me, those balls are perfect.
And the whole and just various things that happened this season, which I'll go through in case you don't already like that Facebook page or whatever. Gotta say, the Sixers eke out a win tonight against the Miami Heat, 104-102. They eke them out without Joel Embiid on the floor. Newcomer on the team, of course. Bellinelli. That's right. Put up 17 buckets. And overall, just a solid effort. Beating a team, around 500. Sixers are better than them. And again, they didn't even have Joel Embiid suit up tonight. So good job out of the Sixers team. They're now 30-25. And the arrow is pointing up. Now, if they could just get Markelle Fultz and his shooting and his shoulder back to full strength, but that remains to be seen. I do want to get to Jason Kelce's speech shortly. For those who are living under a rock, maybe, and didn't hear it, but we'll hear it again because it was a highlight. What can you say? Last year you had the New England Patriots with their parade, and you had Bill Belichick kind of, I guess, attempting to fire up the crowd.
No days off! No days off! No days off!
Where, meanwhile, you have Jason Kelce and, really with a strong delivery behind the mic. And just so much pent-up emotion that many of us feel here, and he just kind of unfurled it in his speech. Very, very pleased. And the quote was, "An underdog is a hungry dog." that he alluded to. Great stuff. We're going to listen to it again shortly. I was mentioning earlier, one of the main topics of conversation right now, I guess as we enter the off season, the dilemma with Nick Foles. Because if you're Nick Foles at this point, do you not want to play somewhere to earn a bigger contract? I mean, this is a business. Don't get me wrong. Doesn't he want to start somewhere? Not just to make more money, but to start. If he can. Which he very well can for another team. And if you're the Eagles, wouldn't you, and you can get maybe a second round pick or something for Nick Foles? Don't you trade him? Because again, look, this was great. Nick Foles, regardless of if he goes somewhere this offseason to another team, he'll live in our hearts, essentially.
This guy is a special dude right here.
Yeah, Nick, you're telling me. For the performance he had in the playoffs, he will live in our hearts as Eagle fans for delivering that first Super Bowl championship. But at the end of the day, Carson Wentz is the quarterback of this team, the franchise quarterback for years to come. And as great as Nick Foles played in the playoffs, Carson Wentz is the real deal, and he put this team in this position to make the run to the Super Bowl and find themselves against a New England team that maybe isn't quite as good as it has been in recent years. Yeah, still great. You still got Tom Brady playing at a very high level. But defensively, the Patriots showed they were in shambles against the Eagles. Very suspect defense. So, the whole idea that, what if Carson Wentz gets hurt again and, at least you have Nick Foles. You can't think that way, that Carson Wentz is going to get hurt again and miss, with another season-ending injury. You can't think that way. Now, if it happens again, a la like a Sam Bradford situation or something, where a guy is known for or RG3, where he just couldn't stay healthy, then, you got a case. And then, at which point, if injury concerns are severe enough to the point where you got to start looking for another quarterback, which is a big shame, and then, cross that bridge if it ever gets to that. But I'm looking at Carson Wentz. I'm not thinking at all that way. What if he gets hurt again? What if he I don't know. Can't think that way. And then you have Nick Foles back there. Can't think that way. If you can get value, look, second round pick, the Eagles, with recent moves they've made in recent years, and obviously drafting of Carson Wentz, yeah, they don't have a second round pick, I believe. They're missing, they don't have much in the early rounds of the draft. So I got to think that Howie Roseman would, this Eagles squad, they would want to come up with something, maybe trade for Nick Foles for draft picks, would they not? I don't know. What are your thoughts? That's my thoughts. Again, this is a business. That's the bottom line. In a perfect world, yeah, Nick Foles here is backup. I won't have a problem with that. If Carson Wentz were to go down again and Nick Foles, I couldn't have a problem with that. I didn't have a problem with it this year when they brought him in the first place. I thought, well, it's feel better than Chase Daniels as the backup quarterback. So there's that angle of it. But at the end of the day, this is a business. And if you can get a second-round pick for him, a decent second-round pick, yeah, you do it. You can you can get another offensive lineman that can be a stalwart on the line. You can maybe add another receiver if, I don't know, maybe Torrey Smith isn't going to cut it in the long haul. You can get a defensive player. I mean, yeah. It's pretty simple to me. All right. So let's take a listen. Speaking of offensive linemen. Jason Kelce. The parade speech, almost 5 minutes long. Last Thursday afternoon it was. In his very vivid looking outfit. Here's Jason Kelce's epic rant, I guess you can call it, down at the parade last Thursday.
Philadelphia! If you love the Eagles, let me get a hell yeah! You love the Philadelphia Eagles, let me get a hell yeah! I'm going to take a second to talk to you about underdogs. I know Lane and Chris just talked about this, but I don't think that it's been beat home enough. Howie Roseman, a few years ago, was relinquished of all control pretty much in this organization. He was put in the side, he was put in the side of the building where I didn't see him for over a year. 2 years ago, when they made a decision, he came out of there a different man. He came out of there with a purpose and a drive to make this possible. And I saw a different Howie Roseman, an underdog, Doug Peterson. When Doug Peterson was hired, he was rated as the worst coaching hire by a lot of freaking analysts out there in the media. This past offseason, some clown named Mike Lombardi told him that he was the least qualified head coach in the NFL. You saw a driven Doug Peterson, a man who went for it on fourth and down, in the Super Bowl with the trick play. He wasn't playing.
I just felt confident, confident and comfortable.
He's playing for a Super Bowl. And it don't stop with him. It does not stop with him. Jason Peters was told he was too old, didn't have it anymore. Before he got hurt, he was the best freaking tackle in the NFL. Big B was told he didn't have it. Stephen Wisniewski ain't good enough. Jason Kelce's too small. Lane Johnson can't lay off the juice. Brandon Brooks has anxiety. Carson Wentz didn't go to a Division I school. Nick Foles don't got it. Corey Clement's too slow. LeGarrette Blount ain't got it anymore. Jay and John can't stay healthy. Torrey Smith can't catch. Nelson Aguilar can't catch. Zach Ertz can't block. Brett Selleck's too old. Brandon Graham was drafted too high. Vinny Curry ain't got it. Bo Allen can't fit the scheme. Michael Thomas can't fit the scheme. Nigel Bradley can't catch. Jalen Mills can't cover. Patrick Robinson can't cover. It's the whole team. This entire organization with a bunch of driven men to accomplish something. We were a bunch of underdogs. And you know what underdogs is? It's a hungry dog. And Jeff Stoutland has had this in our building for 5 years. It's a quote in the O-line room that has stood on the wall for the last 5 years. Hungry dogs run faster. And that's this team. Bottom line is, we wanted it more. All the players, all the coaches, the front office, Jeffrey Lurie, everybody wanted it more. And that's why we're up here today, and that's why we're the first team in Eagles history to hold that freaking trophy. And you know who the biggest underdog is? It's y'all, Philadelphia. For 52 years, y'all have been waiting for this. You want to talk about underdog? You want to talk about a hungry dog? For 52 years, you've been starved in this championship. You wanted us. No one liked this team. No analyst liked this team to win the Super Bowl, and nobody likes our fans. And you know what? I've just heard one of the best chants this past day, and it's one of my favorite, and it's new, and I hope y'all learn it, because I'm about to drop it right now. You know what I got to say to all those people that doubted us, to all those people that counted us out, and to everybody who said that we couldn't get it done?
All right, so there we have it. Not quite the whole shebang. The cleaned up version of Jason Kelsey's speech. A couple of missions there. As this is, an FCC regulated program here on the Tyler Werner show. In case anybody is wondering why part of it was omitted, I guess.
Throw your nipples out there. Put them out there. Thrust them.
But what a day it was. What a week it was. What a week it's been. The celebration continues, rolls on into the off season. This is special. This changes. It changes our tone. Gone is this whole thing with the Eagles, they never win a Super Bowl. They're choke artists or whatever, which was more, if anybody choke, it'd be previous regimes here, but not this one. Gone is this whole thing where people can pick on us for not having a championship, for being, quote-unquote Negadelphians, where we're negative all the time. Not that we're negative all the time, or we're negative all the time, but where we always have like a pessimistic sense of where things are going to go. Like the Eagles get in the playoffs, well, big whoop. Are they really going to go anywhere? I got out of that. I started to get out of that. I'll admit, I was pessimistic. I mean, I had reason to be pessimistic. We had reason to be pessimistic heading into the playoffs. When Nick Foles, he didn't look like he got it, as Jason Kelsey said, or would say. But I had the faith. Some of us had the faith that this regime, they were going to, with the extra time they had in the home field advantage, they were going to put it together. And they showed us something. And I had faith the next week against the Vikings. And into the Super Bowl, my faith remained. And each game, the Eagles won, came out victorious. That's what it's all about.
Oh, man.
Coming up on the other side, we are going to do our Valentine's cards. NFL memes version, that is. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned for that. And if you celebrating Valentine's Day, what are you doing? What are you doing special? think going out's overrated. Not that I have anyone to go out with right now for this Valentine's Day. But I'm always a fan of cooking for the lady. I don't know about you. But that's just my 2 cents. We got bigger fish to fry, and that is the NFL memes edition of Valentine's cards here on the Tyler Werner Show. So with that in mind, stay tuned for more, ladies and gentlemen, after this. I'll be right back.
What defines the perfect ball? It's not just about size when it comes to Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs.
I've handled dozens of balls over the past week. We prepare our balls over time. The texture of the balls is very easy to identify.
And that slow-cooked texture is one of the qualities that make Brady and Belichick's meatballs stand above the rest. But it's also Brady's unique rubbing process that only he has the authority to perform.
When I pick those balls out, to me they're perfect. I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them. To me, those balls are perfect.
Once the balls reached an equilibrium, we're down to the rubbing process.
Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs. When you're looking to make it a pasta night, we're doing a little catering. Like Brady would say, to me, those balls are perfect.
Okay, Rocco, pretend I'm the girl that you want to ask out on a date.
How about maybe you and I, maybe we go out together, get something to eat, I don't know, maybe laugh a little bit, who knows, I don't know, would you like to maybe, you want me to go out together? What do you think? Would you like to?
You need to make more eye contact and you sound way too nervous.
You want to hear me say it? You want to break me down? All right, I'm afraid. For the first time in my life, I'm afraid.
Having a tough time asking out ladies? You need to see Clubber Lang for a lesson.
Hey, woman. Hey, woman. I bet you stay up late every night dreaming you had a real man, don't you? I tell you what, bring your pretty little self over to my apartment tonight, and I'll show you a real man.
Build confidence with the ladies like never before with Clubber Lang's dating services. The most highly recommended in all of the Delaware Valley.
I am ranked number 1. 1! That means I'm the best.
We're back on the Tyler Werner Show, and things are warming up. We got Thursday. I got a high of 64 up my way, at least. I don't know about Center City, Philadelphia, or whatever, but something similar. And then next week, I don't know, we're looking at snow maybe Saturday. Next week, a few days in the 60s, so, sort of getting in that maybe spring warmth on its way. Although you never know. Last year we had that, I think it was like March 12th when that big snowstorm came through. So you never know. I mean, it's warming up a little bit for sure, but doesn't mean winter is saying its piece quite yet. But nevertheless, it's good to see a little bit of warmth making its way in. I guess you could say, like some unseasonable warmth. Warmth in the 60s here in February.
I agree.
But, take it. All right, so without further ado, let's get into these memes. A lot of good ones this year for sure. For those who don't know, on the NFL Memes Facebook page, I saw this last year, went through them. These like mock Valentine's cards, say to and from, they'll have a picture of a player or a team logo and some kind of line. And I'll go through and I'll describe many of the best ones, at least in my eyes. There's a few dozen of them. So here we go. First one here is a picture of Tom Brady in this past Super Bowl, where he attempted to catch the football and, of course, it went off his fingers. And the tagline on the Valentine is, "I'll drop everything to be with you." You get it for those who didn't, Here we go. Here's another Patriot one. Bill Belichick. The tagline is, "Malcolm Butler is going to sit out this Valentine's Day. Coach's decision." Bill Belichick there. It's not the only Bill Belichick one here. Now here's a Chris Collinsworth one. And I'm going to say the tagline, I guess in my impression of Chris Collinsworth. The tagline is, "Roses are red, violets are blue. Now here's a guy who cares about you." Chris Collinsworth loves to say, here's a guy. That's for sure. Especially in the Super Bowl. And here I pointed at this earlier. Foreshadowed this one. Picture of Tom Brady, kind of just smiling. And the tagline is, "I'll let you deflate my balls."
To me, those balls are perfect.
Colin Kaepernick. I think this one was last year, but nevertheless, I guess it still applies to this year. Picture of Colin Kaepernick. "I'll get on one knee for you." Let's see, next up. Now see, here's another Tom Brady one. "I'll kiss you like I do my son." I guess...
To me, those balls are perfect.
I guess there was that documentary or whatever. Is that where that came from? I remember seeing something about it. And yeah. Here's an Andy Reid one. Picture of Andy Reid, maybe in a press conference or something. I don't know. "Promise I last longer than I do in the playoffs."
It was like sweet and sour pork, right?
Chiefs one and done again this year. Now they've been, I want to say, let's see, this was Andy's 5th season in Kansas City. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, this is his, and I believe every year they've made it to the playoffs under, unless maybe they missed one year, went 9-7. I forget. I'd have to check up on that. But at least 4 of the last 5 years they've been in. And 2 years ago, I know they went to the divisional round and lost to the Patriots, but I don't know. Beyond that, although he's been in the playoffs the last several years, haven't even gotten to the AFC Championship yet, unlike he did here with the Eagles several times. So yeah, a lot of playoff appearances, but for those playoff appearances, no deep runs yet for Big Red Andy Reid. Picture of the Cleveland Browns logo, and the tagline is, "Are you the number 1 overall pick? Because I want to screw you over and over."
Oh, man.
Next on the list. Let's see here. Picture of Brett Favre. I think this one kind of sticks. One of the last years as well. Picture of Brett Favre in his white Minnesota Vikings jersey when he played for the Vikings, and the tagline is, "My love for you won't retire." Oh, here we go. Picture of Dak Prescott. And it reads, "I need you more than I do Ezekiel Elliott." How about that one? That's a good one. My rim shots froze here. What's going on? Let's see. Here we go, another Cowboys one. Picture Jerry Jones. Tagline reads, "Roses are red, violets are blue. Will you suck for me, just like Dak did in year 2?" Oh, man. Here's another roses are red, violets are blue one. Here's a picture of the New England Patriots logo. And it reads, "Roses are red, violets are blue. We lost to a backup QB in Super Bowl 52.
I've been to the grocery store in a couple of years.
What's next? Oh, another Patriots one. Bill Belichick, a picture of him smiling in his navy blue New England Patriots polo, I guess you could say. And it says, "I won't cheat on you, girl."
This is the end of this subject for me for a long time.
Now, this one kind of applies more to last year. Picture of the Atlanta Falcons logo, and it says, "Are you a 25-point lead? Because I want I want to blow you." Okay. Here's one. The Philadelphia Eagles logo, and it says, "I'll finally have a ring for you." Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's enough. Can't say we don't have a ring anymore. However. This is a good one. Picture of it's a little outdated, but picture of Pete Carroll. I was going to say Keith Peril. But no, Pete Carroll, ladies and gentlemen, with it saying, "I was going to make a run at being your Valentine, but I'll pass." Still bogs down many 49er fans. Or 49. Still bogs down many Seattle Seahawks fans. Right division, wrong team. And here's another one. Another Eagles one. Picture of the Eagles logo. And this says, I can see. I'll give you the Philly special, it says.
This feels great.
Whatever that is. But no, it sounds, sounds like it could be alluding to whatever. Little innuendo there. Now here's a Cowboys one. This is a good one. "I was going to make you dinner, but I haven't seen a bowl in 22 years. And again, Nick Foles, in this playoff year alone, more wins in the playoffs than the Cowboys have had since then, those 22 years ago. How about that?
Oh, man!
More career playoff wins than Tony Romo ever had either, but I think that's due in part to this team, the way it's been assembled, the way it's been coached, the way it's been led. However, that year the Cowboys went 13-3 with T.O., and, couldn't help but be a little underwhelmed by that, for sure. This is a great one. Picture of the Minnesota Vikings logo on this Valentine, and the tagline reads, "Date tonight? I'll pick you up at 38-7. Good one. Let's see here. Another Cowboys one. "Sorry I didn't get you a gift this year, but remember that gift I got you 22 years ago?" And finally, One more on Bill Belichick. We're on to Easter. That'll do things for the 2018 edition of NFL Memes Valentine's Day Cards. Some good ones in the mix for sure this year. Certainly didn't underwhelm me. All right, so let's see. Well, we're just about out of time on the Tyler Werner Show. So, again, we continue. We roll on here. We roll on in the off season. I mean, next we got the scouting combine, I guess. Not that this was a huge draft year for the Philadelphia Eagles, given it remains to be seen, what picks they really have that are actually substantial this year. Last year was a bigger deal because they had the 7-9 finish. They had a higher pick in the draft, which they took Derek Barnett. It's looking more and more like a good pick, especially when you got Jay Ajayi and Corey Clement undrafted, who's rather serviceable. So we're kind of just in, I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird off season that's upon us. Because we have this Super Bowl championship to continue to relish in. But just this idea that, it's like there's not this like pressure to really have to go out and improve the team in free agency or the draft. They kind of took care of that last year, I guess. And they went on to win the Super Bowl. So it's one of these weird things where, it's whatever, I guess, as the phrase goes. One of these things where just, Carson Wentz will be back. It should be back for week 1, it seems like. And just feel confident and comfortable in this team. Or comfortable.
I just felt comfortable, confident and comfortable.
Thank you, Doug. This team, again, with Carson Wentz under center, and essentially, I believe it's 20 out of the 22 starters under contract for next season. It's great. It's like automatic contender again next year. Am I wrong? And that's the beauty of this Super Bowl title, with how they were able to accomplish this with, an uphill battle, with very inconvenient circumstances that, whether it was Doug, Jim Schwartz, this team just adapting to key personnel missing in several positions. I'm trying to think in the NFC right now, I got to think that Green Bay probably will be back to some extent next year with you got Aaron Rodgers, so long as he stays healthy. The Vikings, strong defensively, except when they played the Philadelphia Eagles, of course, in the NFC Championship. But, their quarterback situation, Case Keenum, but it's a bit questionable still. I don't think, what are the chances they go and finish 13-3 again? Might have been a bit of a lightning in a bottle season. The Seahawks, Russell Wilson, but that defensive core is aging and, I don't know, getting banged up and some contemplating retirement. And I don't know. I don't quite know where they stand next year. If they're going to be a true contender, if they're going to return to form, that 12-13 win team that they have been in recent years for the most part. The Rams, probably another playoff year for them. Jared Goff shaking his playoff debut, but otherwise, the team, Todd Gurley, he was a candidate for MVP. Defensively, a pretty strong team. But I mean, you know, and the Saints, maybe they'll be back next year. And the Panthers, maybe as well. The Cowboys, maybe. I don't know. But even with Ezekiel Elliott out there, I mean, that first year with him and Dak Prescott may have just been more of a lightning in a bottle year. And then it fizzed in the playoffs against the Green Bay Packers. I don't know. But one thing I do know is this Eagles team, again, you got Carson Wentz under center. You got this defensive personnel. And mind you, Sidney Jones, let's see what he's made of. See what he's made of coming off of his injury. Ronald Darby, see if these guys can gel a little more in the offseason. And, the rest of the personnel, do I need to say any more? So that's where we're at. Eagles contenders again next year. It's just still hard to believe that they're Super Bowl champions. But here we are, mid-February, Super Bowl champions. Just continue to ride the wave. Not to already think about next season, but like I said last week on the Tyler Werner Show, there might be dynasty potential here for this Eagles team. There is dynasty potential here for this Eagles team. The might comes in as to whether or not they realize that potential. And start getting, I mean, we just got one ring. It's one of those things like, you just got your first ring, And that's not to put it behind us that quickly. Still got to ride the wave of excitement, of thrill in the air as the Eagles are Super Bowl champions this year. But it'll certainly be interesting to see how they come out next year, how they come out with this regime in future years to come. And see if they can become a dynasty. I don't know, it's where we're at. I don't mean to be thinking too far ahead, but the topics have come up. So I certainly can't ignore them. So that will wrap things up on this edition of the Tyler Werner Show. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Enjoy your week. Stay tuned for the next edition of the Tyler Werner Show. And fly, Eagles, fly.
Gosh, it went great.